Chubstep.
Jrad.
Creating the oil of judgment.
Steed. Chubstep.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the king of the jungle.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Hopefully none of you's claustrophobic.
Claustrophobic? Who would ever be scared of Santa Claus?
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
And the show started.
Hello, welcome back. Another sunny day on Chubstep Podcast. We got a big episode for you. Oh, I feel like I'm forgetting something.
You usually say like the wrong season name.
And maybe
number.
I forgot that because last week you didn't tie Ben Affleck into the topic.
Yeah. Okay. I actually haven't done it the last 2 weeks. I haven't noted that, but I do have one this week. Don't worry. So I will catch up on the other ones.
Okay.
Don't you worry about that.
Well, then in that case, we're back with season 1, episode 1. Welcome
to the first ever episode of Chubstep. Welcome. Yeah, we're back here, Steed. We had a correction for, I guess a note.
Son of a bitch. I hate these.
This was sent in by Chubstep V-Dog. He's been on the show many times. He's actually our number one guest. He's been on the show the most times more than anybody else.
Yeah, count it.
His last time was on Chubstep 500. Check that out. Anyway, it's called Bee's Knees is the subject of this email. Email the show, chubstep.podcast@gmail.com. He said, Steed, the drink you were thinking of, the drink you were referring to is Bee's Knees. It's whiskey, honey, and squeezed lemon. All-time drink, and sad to hear disgraced on this podcast. You have hurt me beyond repair, he says.
Okay. Well, that was a drink that, without even looking it up, I knew that it would be a good combo. Okay. This is just something that I was making at home.
What was the context of it? We were talking about drinking.
We were
talking about honey, and then you were talking about people in the 1800s playing Fortnite, or they were playing Rocket League drinking.
No, that wasn't people in the 1800s.
Knees.
That was me and Matt.
I know. There was some reference to that. Yeah, I know. You guys were talking about basically drinking bees knees while playing Rocket League. Anyway, thank you for the correction there, V-Dog.
Yeah, just a reminder, never correct us. Never send us corrections.
Also, never correct us. Also, you're banned from the show.
Yeah, sorry.
Until you apologize, until you give us a formal apology.
You have to leave. You have to make 12 fake accounts and leave 12 fake reviews. As
anybody can write us an apology letter at chubstep.podcast@gmail.com. Steve, I was going to tell you about a quick business thing I've been doing. It's a little, do you know those free libraries that are on the street? They'll be like it's kind of a take a book, leave a book type of thing.
Yeah, the free bookstore.
Free books. It's like, for those that don't know, it looks like a giant birdhouse that's just on the sidewalk in some cities. And you basically just leave a book in there and you grab a book if you're thing. So what I found is nobody's monitoring this book stations.
No.
So I will go in there. I will find a high dollar. What I've gotten pretty good at is now raw appraisal of books. I'll find the high dollar books and then I'll just resell them on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my business.
That's a good business. I mean, it is different than what I do with those free libraries. As I rent a book. And then I slip in some nude pictures of myself in my business.
Okay.
And then I put them back into the book.
Okay.
And then I just put it back in the thing. And then when people are reading this book, they go, oh, it's a good chapter. They're getting into it. There's a nude picture of me and my business card.
Yes.
And as it would turn out, it's not a great way to generate sales.
Okay. People don't like to be surprised sometimes. It would explain, Steed, why I've almost gotten banned from selling things on Amazon because of crude pictures, which I just thought were part of the book. So now I'm seeing there might have been other things thrown in there. So
yeah,
it's adding up.
So that's on me. Sorry to ruin your plan. That is a good plan, though.
Yeah.
How much did you make?
I don't want to get into the numbers. I don't want to get into the
Okay.
figures here because I would keep it. We'll talk about the podcast on here specifically. We don't need to go into details.
Yeah.
We're gonna be bragging about money and stuff. If you do want to save some money, Steve, this is just a thought. This actually could help out everybody. Vita Coco if you're a new customer of Vita Coco, JRADZ50, JRADZ50, 50% off new
Vita Coco.
customers a Vita Coco order. I
So-
don't think there's a limit on it. From what I've understood, people have taken this to the limit. You could order tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I've
Cut that
seen
down to
somebody he
fives of
ordered
thousands of dollars.
300 cases,
Yeah, why
half
not?
off. He resold those, and I think he was pouring them into those library things just for fun.
Yeah,
He's like,
filling up everything.
he's like, I'm gonna
Coconut
ruin all
water.
those books.
Yeah,
So you can do whatever. Once you own that coconut water, you can do whatever you want.
legally you
Nobody's
can actually
keeping
do whatever
tabs.
you want with it. Yeah,
So
and it's encouraged. So
yeah, use that code. Get your free Vita Coco. Buy one, get one free.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
It's basically buy one, get one free. It's 50% off. So think about it like that. Different way of phrasing it. Perspective,
Great.
people. Okay.
Jay,
Was there anything you want to get to before we start the topic here?
Yeah, I saw some people that could have used some Vita Coco. I was
Okay.
at the beach, and here on the Pacific Coast, you can just drive your car onto a lot of the beaches.
Yeah.
Now, I have a brand new 2020 Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah.
That I drive. It's got sand mode. I can
Yes.
rotate a dial and it goes into sand mode.
It's the
So I
desert,
put it in
the
sand
desert
mode.
trash picture, just like a cactus, right? And stuff on it.
I think there is a cactus
Yeah.
emblem. Yeah, you might be right. Anyways,
Yeah.
I drive on the beach, and right when I get onto this beach to go fishing, I notice a group of about 15, 60-year-old and older women
Mm-hmm.
dancing it's like everyone had like a 10-foot circle around.
Okay.
So this is a wide range that they're dancing in.
Okay.
And they're just dancing like, imagine people on acid
Yes.
dancing. They're doing that.
Yes.
They're blasting, like somebody brought a speaker out there, blasting like old Irish, like Gaelic
Okay.
folk tunes.
Interesting.
And they're just out there dancing, having the time
Love
of their
that.
life.
Yes.
And I was gonna offer them Vita Coco, but I drank it all on the way there. So I did. They were right where I wanted to fish. Like literally,
Yes.
no matter
And they're
where I
gonna
go,
be disturbing
somebody's
the
right
fish.
where
That's
I
gonna
wanna
be-
go fish.
Yeah. You can't be fishing with that going on.
Well, I didn't want to fish right in front of them
Yeah.
because I would have had to park my Jeep, further away. I would have had to walk
Sure.
further. And I just ended up going down the beach. I didn't catch any fish.
Oh, probably because they were stomping around and scaring all the fish.
They were playing music and
Yeah.
they were on acid. They were doing drugs.
Not okay.
They had to be on drugs.
I hope they were on drugs for what they were doing. You would hope that they would have been on
I
drugs.
hope so too. I mean,
Yeah.
like if you look up like people dancing while on acid, this is what they were doing. Like, what the hell is
Yeah.
Oregon
Yeah.
is weird. Oregon is a weird place to live. Like
If you're
just
not doing, they actually don't allow you to not do drugs in Oregon.
I know you just come across random shit. Like you go in the woods and there's just people shooting guns at trees. Then you go
Yeah.
to the beach and there's people on acid. Then you
Yeah.
go to the store and there's homeless guys jerking off. It's like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going
Yeah.
on over here?
Yes. Yeah. You get it all. Wide variety of everything.
Yeah, you really do. And you don't have to pay sales tax. So
There you go. Bonus. That's the bonus. That's why you can get away with anything.
yeah.
So,
Well-
Steve, should we get into our topic here?
Yeah, let's get into it.
What made you want to do this one? This is your idea.
Okay. Well, I think I was thinking of like topics, and in my head,
Okay.
I have these trains outside my and I was like trains. So then I'm thinking about trains. And I'm like, well, what would trains even be good? Probably not. So I'm like, train tracks goes to the depot. You depot things in the bank. Where's a lot of banks? Banks are in cities. What city does Jared live in? Jared lives in Chicago. Then I thought, Great Chicago Fire. Fire, death in Chicago, H.H. Holmes. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe we do H.H. Holmes. But then I was like, maybe there's not enough time to research H.H.
Yeah.
Holmes. Then I was like, Holmes, Chicago, Frank Lloyd Wright builds homes.
Sounds like my Ben Affleck connections that are coming up.
Yeah, except that's just
that's just how
happened
your
in
mind
like
thinks.
12 seconds in my brain.
Yes. Yeah.
It was
That's,
like-
wow.
And the whole time I was going like,
People can't see it. He's just shaking his head, going like crazy. That's how. If people want to understand how a genius mind works, you heard it right here. I know
Yeah.
you guys will never comprehend. You won't be able to do it as fast as he did it, but that's how it works.
Yep. And I was standing on my balcony jerking off to it.
Yeah. Good. So we're talking about Frank Lloyd Wright.
Franklin Lloyd.
Franklin Lloyd Wright.
Otherwise known as shit. I hit the wrong button. Franklin Lincoln Wright.
Oh,
Son of a bitch changed his name.
I didn't catch that part.
He changed his name.
Okay. Like Guy Fieri?
Yeah. He changed
Wow.
He changed his middle name because he wanted to go back to his Scottish roots.
Okay.
So he
Good.
changed his name from Lincoln to Lloyd.
Yeah, you're right. That's what first thing I think of. The guy's very Scottish.
I
Born
know.
1867, died in 1959. So he was basically like Civil War just ended when he was born.
Yeah, he was old.
He's old, yeah.
I don't know how old because I'm not doing that.
I think he designed like 1,000 buildings, 500 something of them get built. The guy's probably the most famous architect of all time, maybe, or at least maybe I'm biased because I grew up in Chicago, where he's basically most of his houses around here. He lived here most of his life.
Yeah,
Maybe that's why I'm biased towards Frank Lloyd Wright, but it's a big thing that there are a ton of Frank Lloyd Wright buildings.
he's the only architect that I know. And
Yes.
he's the only architect I've seen his buildings and said, wow, that's a nice building.
Yes.
Like, there's something about it. You look at him and you're just like, oh man, it's something inside.
Yeah,
you
he's got
waking up.
specific style, and he's got a few different kind of styles.
Yeah, but he runs through different styles.
Yeah, that's the thing. He has a couple, prairie. He goes to here's the thing. What he did is basically take he likes to incorporate nature into you basically, instead of building on a hill, he says you build in the hill, or it's like you make the hill part of the house.
You build with the hill.
With the hill. Thank you, Steed. He did a bunch of them. Some are better than others. I'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Okay. You want a little early bio? We'll move on to
do a little early bio.
What was going on with this old man? I think it was this old man because I don't know if they had picture graphs, those things that take pictures. I don't know if they had those back when he was a wee child. They only got him when he was older. So there's only pictures of him when he's an old man.
Well, they had pictures back then. Just a lot of people can afford to get pictures. They weren't getting pictures as much. Pictures might have been destroyed in fires. There's many fires in his family's lives.
There was a lot of fires. Actually.
Yeah.
He was also poor. They were also poor. So he was born 1867, June 8th. And so he was born in 1867, and he just for his whole life claimed that he was born in 1869 to make himself 2 years younger for whatever reason.
Or I got 69 touchdowns. If you know what I mean.
And he also changed it. He was Frank Lincoln Wright, and then he changed his name to Franklin Lloyd Wright. Mm-hmm. His dad was some musician, kind of half preacher, whatever. His dad, like all good preachers do, like the Pope did, he abandoned his family. Mm-hmm. When he turned 14, his parents got divorced. His dad sued his wife on the grounds of emotional cruelty and physical violence and spousal abandonment, which is a crazy thing to do when you are about to just abandon your family.
Yeah. So he does that and then abandons his family?
Yeah, he's using spousal abandonment, and then he's like, anyways, never going to see my whole family again. So it seems like he just basically abandoned his family. And at the young age of 14, old Frank Lincoln, he witnessed divorce, which he would take notes on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Turns out he might not have gotten the therapy he needed later on.
Yeah. So that's right when he joined high school. He then drops out of high school. Well, there's no evidence he ever graduated high school. Mm-hmm. Somehow, 5 years later, when he's 19, he gets into University of Wisconsin-Madison. So apparently you do not need high school degrees back in 1886 to get into college. You just kind of walk in. He's works under a civil engineering professor. Does not finish college.
Yeah.
But it's fine because when he was 88, they gave him an honorary doctorate.
See,
degree.
it stays to stay out of school. It pays to stay out of school.
Stay out of. So that's the thing. Stay out of school, kids. Make the school come to you.
Exactly.
Make them want to give you a
exactly.
degree
Make them apologize for not making you graduate.
Mm-hmm. They'll give you a degree later.
Yeah.
So he's got enough. He knows enough, and he's like, "Screw it, I'm moving to Chicago." He's from Wisconsin, born in Wisconsin, moves to Chicago. This is right after the Great Chicago Fire, so he also might have learned a thing or two from that. Which could play into his later life. Sees this big fire. He's like, a lot of building to be done, and he starts building buildings. Because that's what the people needed back in the day. They needed buildings. All of it was gone. Starts a great, wonderful career. He goes through like 5 jobs, just like ping-ponging out of these jobs, basically. Oh, he gets his own practice after all these jobs. And then he starts making his cool buildings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, basic. Nothing too crazy there. Really
no,
too crazy, except for good timing.
Yeah, it's just sounds like a nice little boy.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, you said you want to talk about his marital affairs because I have stuff. One thing about his kids, I don't know if you saw this, but he ends up having quite a love life. So do you want to get into that first? Do you want me to skip around and go a little bit into maybe some of the houses he built?
Let's do some of his buildings first.
Okay.
Because we'll build this man up, then we'll tear him down, then we'll build him up again.
I like that. Yeah, you got it.
Because I'm on Team Lincoln, right?
That's what society's all about. It's about tearing people up and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, you know the most expensive house he ever built, Steve? Or the most expensive one that ever sold, I should say.
Oh, that ever sold?
Yeah, it's this house. I'll show you it right now.
I'm going to guess the which house?
Ennis house. It was also featured in Blade Runner.
Whoa.
It's pretty crazy looking.
No, I know this one from Blade Runner. It's where Ryan Gosling goes to like check in or whatever.
This view is insane for those who are looking on the shared screen here. This cool pool. It is overlooking Los Angeles.
Oh man, that's a nice house.
It's the inside and the outside looks both insane. It actually only sold 18 million. It actually seems like somehow that's reasonable for.
I'd pay more. If I win the lotto, I'm buying that.
Now keep in mind this is a 3-bed, 3.5 bath place.
Oh my god.
So it's not huge. Yeah.
It looks way bigger.
It looks way bigger. But it's the most expensive one he ever sold. There was one that he made. I'll show you this other one that he did that I saw, and quite the contrary, quite the opposite thing here. There was one that he was selling in 2017. This is when I remember I was looking for places. And I was like, man, I could buy a Frank Lloyd Wright house for less than I bought my place for. It turns out they're not all that nice. So this one is in, can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I remember you showed me this one.
I showed you this before, I think. 145,000.
That is 5 years ago. So now it's probably
this is 2017. It's probably more than this, but like it's pretty boring house. This house kind of sucks.
Well, I think because they like fucked up the carpet and shit.
They probably did fuck up the carpet and gave her some of the design. But I mean, even the outside of this house, and then it's
got a little bit of charm, but it doesn't stand out like Blade Runner house.
And it's not in a great area in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it as well. But at one point I was like, well, that's got to be probably the opposite extreme of the Ennis house. Is like, okay, you get that or you could get that. But here's the question, Steed. Is that one that many more times better than this house? Maybe.
You're saying is it like 100 times better? No, not 100. Wait, yeah. 10, 20, 30, like 40 times better, roughly.
Is it that much better?
I would say Blade Runner house is 40 times better.
Okay. So it's worth the $18 million then. Okay. Yeah. I just had to check. So those were some, okay, but he's done a crazy number of houses. Some of them, a lot of people have controversial takes on. Like people are like, oh, I don't like the Guggenheim, or I don't like.
Oh, fuck you. The
But
Guggenheim
all
was
these,
one of his greatest creations.
all the ones that people don't like, you look at them and you're like, this is actually pretty cool. It's pretty wild. Like they'll just be wild, but they won't be like bad looking houses or bad looking buildings.
Yeah.
It's all kind of unique stuff and cool stuff. Just look up, there's 500 of these buildings, so we don't have time to show you all or even very
Yeah,
many
there's
of them.
a ton. My favorite is the water one. The what the heck is it called? It's called like the waterfall. There it is. Falling water. It's in Pennsylvania. It's like built on top of a waterfall.
Show a picture of this.
And he built that in 1937.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, this is one of the coolest ones. It is a waterfall going through the house, basically. It's surrounded
oh my god, yeah,
trees.
It's so cool. 1937. And apparently with this one, he was like, build the house. I'm Frank Lloyd Wright. And the concrete guy is like, this is gonna fucking fall down.
Yeah.
He's like, no. So then the guy who installed it like secretly added a bunch of rebar and like extra structural shit.
Yeah.
So that this house ended up not falling down.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an article. They have a problem with the water that goes through the building.
Yeah, no shit, you have a problem with the like 100 years later too.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, really cool. He's got a bunch of these ones. They're super unique. Cool. Okay, that's why we can't talk about him. People know him because he's famous. So let's get into some. Now let's bash him a little bit, Steve. Let's get into his personal life.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Let's not separate the man from the art here. We're going to combine them. People say you got to separate the man from the art. In this case, we're going to combine them. It's going to get the good and the bad all in one podcast here.
Yeah, we're not doing that. All right, so I'm not going to talk about the fires or massacres.
Yeah.
But I will talk about his different spouses. So
yes,
he first started dating Kitty Wright, which great name. A little kitten. He thought he was marrying a little kitten. Ends up doing some bad stuff with a mistress, and he wants a divorce with Kitty Cat.
Yes.
And Kitty Cat, grants him the divorce. He has to wait a year under the terms of the divorce, which is apparently a thing. In the terms, you can say, I don't want you to be married for 1 year. He accepted those terms, gets married a year later to Miriam Noel. And then a year after that, Miriam's opium addiction started taking its toll on the marriage, as they do. He separates but doesn't divorce, and then he meets his third wife, Olga Lazovich Hinzenberg. He's dating her, whatever. His wife Miriam won't give him a divorce.
Yeah.
So he starts dating Olga, and Olga is a very interesting person. She was like some exotic dancer that was studying under George Gurdjieff, who was a spiritual teacher. Like he invented something called the Fourth Way, and it was some weird spiritual, basically a cult.
Okay.
Trying to get people to better their lives, but he was some weird cult guy. He got famous for trying to cult heal some journalist in England. It was like a famous journalist. She got tuberculosis, turned to this guy eventually in her last year of life. Frank Lloyd Wright's wife was the one who treated this girl, this famous journalist, while she was dying in the cult. And then the journalist ended up running up a flight of stairs one day and then just died because she had tuberculosis.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's crazy. Yeah.
But she was also an exotic dancer?
Yeah, she was I don't think exotic dancer is the word. Not an exotic dancer. She was some type of dancer. She would dance.
Okay, well that's very different than being a stripper.
No, but she wouldn't dance like it was sexy. I'm sure it was sexy somehow.
Okay. I've seen a picture of her. I don't think I'd want to, I don't know.
She looks like somebody from the Great Depression.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, not to not to look shame here, but I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't
Yeah,
picturing, wasn't getting exotic dancer vibes from her.
yeah. So he marries this girl, Olgvina.
Yeah,
She had a daughter. Like they brought the daughter with them, and then the ex-husband tried to get Frank Lloyd Wright arrested. So he was arrested for violating the Mann Act,
yeah.
which is like a white. It
I
was
have
previously called the White Slave Traffic Act of 1910
yeah
for like
I have
sex trafficking.
yeah.
Or something.
I actually have details on the Mann Act when he
Okay,
violated
good.
this, because I was like, when I saw this whole thing, I'm like, this is insane. So yeah,
Yeah,
1926. He's transporting his mistress, again, later becomes his wife. At this time, it's not, from Wisconsin to Minnesota.
because he had to wait that year.
Yes, while he's still legally married to Miriam Noel. So it's when she, even though he asked for divorce, she wouldn't give it. So because he transported a woman for sexual acts,
Oh my god!
because he was legally married, he was violating the Mann Act, Mann Act, and
You got him.
he was staying at Lake Minnetonka, which is where I was like 2 weeks ago, and using apparently a false name. F.W. Wilson and Anna Richardson was what he was using. F.W.
Why'd they
Wilson. I
use the
like
fake
F.W.
names?
Wilson. I
Do
don't
they
know.
know about this
They were
act?
apparently must have known about the act. He gets arrested, spends 2 nights in jail, and then they try to, like, FBI starts investigating, building a case, ends up getting dropped. But basically, you're not allowed to. Here was the law. You are not allowed the transportation of women across state lines for immoral purposes. It was initially aimed at curbing forced prostitution and trafficking, but later applied broadly to consensual sexual relationships outside of marriage. So
What the hell?
you could sleep together if you guys were staying in the same state, but go ahead and
Yeah,
cross
you
state
can't go to
lines, and
different states.
now
What
you're
a
breaking the law, brother.
crazy law! I guess
I
they
love
didn't
old
really
laws.
enforce it. Well, they enforced it enough to
They
pick him
said they
up.
just basically wanted to embarrass him, is how he took it. Like
Oh,
they didn't think they were
those
actually
bastards.
gonna, get him in trouble.
That's
So
why I
anyway,
fucked
that's
up
the
the
Mann Act.
Guggenheim.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was his last wife. He ended up. There was a little bit of drama after his death with this wife because she, Frank Lloyd Wright, wanted to be buried into the ground, and Olgvina, I am so sorry for whatever her name actually is, but I'm saying Olgvina. She wanted to be cremated and buried with Frank Lloyd Wright. So they ended up digging up. Eventually, people didn't want to do this, but she, I guess, insisted, and they dug his body up, cremated it, and they buried it with her.
Good. Thank God.
Thank God. So Olgvina, she always knew what was best for old Frankie.
Yeah, she knew, but yeah, she knows best.
She did
Wives
know
know
best.
So
I mean,
glad
his
they
body
did
was
that.
probably all gross, and she's like, just burn it up.
It's like the, throwback to the Pope episode a few weeks ago when we were talking about the Pope that got buried up from the ground and then put on trial.
Yeah.
Formosus, Pope Formosus.
Yeah, that's the best Pope.
Anyway, it is the best. It's my favorite Pope, is Formosus, but after he died. Just after he died.
I like his rebirth. Just like JC,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Okay. Frank Lloyd Wright, out of these series of relationships, has 8 kids.
Not bad, Frankie.
Not bad. Not bad, Frankie. So his second son, John Lloyd Wright, did you see this part, Steve?
No.
Invented the Lincoln Logs, 1916.
Get out of here.
The guy that invented the Lincoln Logs.
After his
toy,
daddy's original middle name?
John Lloyd Wright, yeah.
Wow.
Lincoln, you're right. Lincoln was his dad's original. Yeah, you're right. Forgot about that. I think it was supposed to be based on, Abraham Lincoln's log cabin home that he grew up in. But there's also a relation to his dad's
Frank Lloyd
original
Wright
name.
did say he played with blacks as a kid, and that taught him how to build with wood later in life.
There you go. So Lincoln Logs.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, random fun fact. So here is the story that Steed passed over. I will get into this. This
little
is
bit of drama.
A little bit of drama. Now, we talked about this episode. We actually talked in detail about this, probably more detail that I'm going to go into here. If you want to go back to episode 264 of season 1, episode 264, it's called Gold Tequila Step featuring Trevor. Trevor's in that episode. We first talked about this because me and Steed drove past, or we were right at the home where this happened, right? So you were with me when this, weren't you?
I don't think so.
Maybe Trevor was. Man, I really thought you were with me.
I don't think I was.
I was when this story happened.
Maybe.
This is 3 or 4 years ago. I was going. I did a float trip. You didn't do the float trip with us in Wisconsin?
I've never done a float trip
Okay,
with
then
you.
never mind. Steve was
I've
not with
done
us.
one
Forget I
float
said
trip,
that.
and it
Okay.
was in Arkansas.
No, it was not that. So this was in the Wisconsin River, I think. Anyway, where you get out or where you get in, there's this massive house on the hill. We're like, what the hell's that? And it's like, oh, it turns out this is old Frankie's little love shack.
Oh,
And we say love
Frankie.
shack, this is a massive place. So Frank Lloyd Wright had this facility built, and they call it Taliesin, Taliesin.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to try and after
Yeah,
pronouncing Oklavalina,
yeah.
I wasn't going to try that one.
It's in Spring Green, Wisconsin.
There's actually 2 Talisins.
Well, there's actually 3, Steve. We're gonna
There's
get that.
3?
So here's the deal. This thing ends, a little spoiler, it ends with a fire. He had minimum 5 fires involved in his life. I think things just used to burn down all the time, man. Like the wiring was shitty. They
Yeah.
had everything was made of wood.
I think this one was like a telephone pole or something.
I think it was faulty
Or
wiring or
Was
something.
it that
Yeah.
one? I don't know. Well,
Anyway,
one of them. One
here's
of
the
them
deal.
was.
I'll get to it.
ours.
So we had this place named Taliesin built. It's Love Cottage, Castle of Love, people called it. And this was basically, I'll give you the backstory of what happened here. So he's hired to build a house or design a house for a guy with a last name of Cheney.
Dick Cheney.
Cheney it's not Dick Cheney, it's I don't
Dick
know,
Cheney's
Edward Cheney
uncle.
or I don't know, something. Dick Cheney's uncle. Let's just say it's Dick Cheney's uncle. In 1903, while he's designing the the thing for this guy's wife, he ends up falling in love with this guy's wife. He's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm here to design your house. Actually, I like your wife."
I'd like to design that pussy.
He's in Oak Park, Illinois at this point. And yeah, so she's like, "Hey, you're Frank Lloyd Wright, even though we're both married. Yeah, let's go do this." They run off to Europe in 1909. So 6 years after he initially gets
That's a
after he
long
meets the
time
girl.
to be having an affair. And
This affair is going on for quite some time. So
you have a lot of time to plan the excuse to go to Europe.
I would say so. At this
Like, I have a
point,
trip with
they
my
had talked about it
friends,
many times. This was
blah,
not
blah,
a
blah.
spur of the moment type of thing here. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into the amount of time that they were actually dating here. Give me 1 second. So they were together from 1909 to 1914. So they're 5 years they're together.
Wow.
So anyway, 1999 is when they're officially together. They met, Anyway, they'd seen each other kind of running around. People had seen him like in town. It's gotten a lot of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Hey, I want a divorce." He's like, "Fine, I'll give you a divorce." Frank Lloyd Wright asks his wife, Catherine, who is his first wife. He says, "Hey, I want a divorce." This is in 1909. They're married at this point for 20 years. She's like, "Nope, nope, we're getting divorced.
Too bad.
You're still married to me." I don't really understand that concept because it's like, you really want to be with a guy that's literally in Europe with somebody else right now? You still want to call that your husband? I don't really understand.
Yeah,
that
but back
concept.
then it was like illegal to do that. So I think you
Yeah.
could get them sent to jail.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, if you
Violating Mann
can't
Act.
bring one of your
You're right.
whores across to Mississippi
Yeah.
instead of
point.
from Missouri.
So what he does, he's like, "Okay, you're not going to divorce me. I'm just going to create this Taliesin, Romantic Highway, Spring Green, Wisconsin, right?" So he builds it, and people around the area are not so happy about that. They're like, "Hey, this is just like it's bringing shame to Spring Green, the
You're
good
bringing
name
a
of
bang
Spring
shack
Green."
in here?
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
ridiculous.
so of course he's like, this house. He's got like servants there, people like working there.
Yeah, it was the nicest house in Spring Green.
Oh, it's for sure the nicest house.
For
in
sure,
Spring
by
Green.
like a million times over.
So she's there. This guy's, his mistress at this point is there. He's doing work in Chicago. She's got 2 children from her marriage previously. These are not Frank Lloyd Wright's children. She has 2 children staying at there. Anyway, they've got a couple people that work there. There's this guy named Julian Carlton, and him and his wife both work for Frank Lloyd Wright. And they've got a couple of people that work in there, like the gardener and the guy that originally built it and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Frank
This
Lloyd Wright
guy-
was banging all of them. I'm pretty sure.
It's hard to know. We don't get into the details of that, because here's why we don't get the details of that. Julian Carlton just decides he's going to go crazy and grabs a hatchet and literally kills both his mistress and their kids and a couple of the other coworkers, and then just starts dousing the house in gasoline and burns it down.
Yep.
Now, the two of the guys escape, and they go and they find like a house that's close by and say, "Hey, call the police. Where this guy just went insane."
Send a telegram. See?
So the telegram, yeah. So the police get to the house that's burning. They get down to the basement. He's hiding, and he had swallowed acid. He tried to kill himself, but the acid did not kill him. So this guy's
yeah, no, it's tough to
just-
keep that down.
yeah.
Easy to
So-
puke.
But he dies weeks later from starvation. Apparently, just killed
Oh,
himself
because
by
he
not
couldn't
eating.
eat because he fucked up his throat, probably.
Could be. You're actually good points, dude. So anyway, this guy just goes insane. Frank Lloyd Wright's gone, and then he finds out one of his employees just murdered his mistress and their kids. Why, Frank Lloyd Wright's why would this guy do this? Apparently, Julian Carlton thought that he was going to get fired. So apparently a better solution to being fired is to just die, I guess. I mean, he liked working for Frank Lloyd Wright that much, I
Well,
guess.
not just to die, but also to kill.
Yeah.
Kill a lot.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing. So it burns down. He builds it again in 1914. It burns down again in 1920. So actually, within a couple months, he rebuilt it. And then it burns down again in 1925. He burns it. That time it was faulty wiring. He rebuilt it once more, and then later became a historic landmark. So 1923. This is 9 years after the death, this murder that happens at his.
I would not rebuild that house.
I wouldn't rebuild that house either. It felt a little weird to me too that he did that.
Yeah. Wait.
1923. Steed had mentioned Catherine, or sorry, Catherine was his first wife.
Yeah.
His second wife, who was Miriam, right? Miriam's his second wife.
Miriam's the second wife.
Miriam actually had written him a condolence letter about his Love Shack murder situation that happens.
Oh yeah. I forgot to put this in, but apparently Miriam was just some crazy stalker that would just was obsessed with him and would write him all these letters and stuff.
Yeah.
And she was just I gotta bang this guy, essentially.
Yeah. So
and he was hell yeah.
Exactly. So that's basically what happened here. So then he meets his next wife by somebody that had sent him a letter. Hey, I'm so sorry that your mistress and her kids and your house got burned down. And then
wonder who did that. LOL.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, he sees the letter, this lady, ends up marrying her, and then again gets divorced from her later on too.
Yeah, because she was an opium addict, which is normal.
Which is usually opium addict,
yeah. So the fire in 1925 that burned the bungalow down, Taliesin. This one was extra fun for him because he had a collection of Japanese prints. He was a Japanophile, as they called it in the day. He was obsessed with Japan, apparently.
Yeah.
He actually built this really cool hotel in Japan. It's awesome. It's your classic Japanese hotel, but with a little American flair.
Yes.
But he collected a bunch of Japanese artwork and prints and everything, and he stored them at that Taliesin house. Valued today to be from $4 million to almost $9 million is the cost of the artwork that was destroyed in that fire in 1925. Yeah, just loses a cool $9 million.
Wow.
In the third fire at this house. Put in a sprinkler, dude.
Yeah, or just, again, this house is cursed. How about just don't?
Yeah.
With that house.
That's probably why he built that house on the waterfall. It's we'll always have fresh water. We'll be ready.
Yeah, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times.
I'm building the waterfall house.
Building the waterfall house, yeah. Exactly.
There's always time for one last kiss.
Steed and Rand.
I have
She's
no
a
idea
novelist.
who that is. Yep.
She's a novelist.
Right over my head. We got to start with somebody else.
Nope. No. Most people. Okay. the people out there will know who this is. A lot of people will know who this is. I
Ayn
know his name.
Rand.
Aynrand.
All right, I'm looking up her best book.
Okay.
Oh, gee. Oh, man. She's older than I thought.
Yeah. Well, this I'm getting to that. So Ayn Rand, this hear me out here. Hear me out here. This is again,
Okay.
this is how my mind works.
All right.
Ayn Rand was she wrote a novel called The Fountainhead, right? The Fountainhead gets turned into a movie in 1943.
Okay.
The character's name was Howard Roark.
Okay.
Howard Roark was based on Frank Lloyd Wright.
Wow.
Okay, right. So this gets turned into a movie in 1943. You know who starred in that movie was Gary Cooper.
Uh-huh.
Featured in the song in Baby Geniuses, Putting on the Ritz.
Putting on the Ritz?
Putting on the Ritz features a line about Gary Cooper.
Putting on the Ritz.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
Gary Cooper, super duper. Okay. Gary Cooper. Okay, so Gary Cooper played Howard Roark, the character based on Frank Lloyd Wright in the movie 1940, whatever, 1943, 1949, The Fountainhead. The film adaptation came in 1949. Okay. Gary Cooper and Gregory Peck were contemporaries. They're both leading men in Hollywood. I'll show you a picture of them here, Steve.
Okay.
Now you know I'm talking about Gregory Peck.
I've actually seen this picture before.
Yes, you've seen this picture. Here we go. Everybody knows this picture. This is Gary Cooper and Gregory Peck. They were contemporaries to each other, right? Okay. Gregory Peck, big actor. He was in a movie called Cape Fear, 1991, directed by none other than Martin Scorsese. You know Scorsese?
I didn't know that he directed that.
Yep.
Is Keanu in that one? I'm thinking of Point Break. I always
Point
get
Break
those
and
two.
Cape Fear are very, yes, they sound very similar. Yeah.
I haven't seen either of those movies.
Okay.
So in my head, they're just the same movie.
Okay, so yes, Martin Scorsese, Cape Fear, Gregory Peck. Anyway, Martin Scorsese was supposed to produce a movie called King Leopold's Ghost that was supposed to be directed by none other than Ben Affleck. They were tied together, Ben Affleck.
Oh, wow.
In 2019, this came out. Now, so that's my tie from Frank Lloyd Wright to Ben Affleck.
Because Ayn Rand wrote the book that got adapted. Okay, yeah.
Adapted to a movie that was played by Gary Cooper, who was friends with Gregory Peck, who did a movie with Martin Scorsese, who was supposed to do a movie with Ben Affleck, but didn't happen. Anyway, that movie, King Leopold, I might talk about that more later. King Leopold's Ghost, about King Leopold II of Belgium, that then they ran the Free State of Congo in Central Africa. One of the worst.
You're talking about this like people know what the hell.
The people don't know about this. You don't know what I'm talking about, right?
I know that the colonization of Africa was
this area,
great.
This specific thing with like the Free State of Congo or Congo Free State, whatever you want to call it.
The Democratic People's Republic of the Congo.
No, not
My
anymore.
favorite country name.
Not that. So this was the whole central part of Africa at one point, and it was ran by the Belgians. This really shitty king. It was like maybe if you didn't want to be anywhere in history, in any time in history, it might have been literally during the time period that Belgium ran the central part of Africa. I might be a separate story that we tell later on.
What if you were Belgium though? What if you're a Belgium guy?
It was still shitty. You did not want to be there. I'm just telling you, this is one of the stories that gets brushed over because I think, people don't know a lot about Belgium or their colonization stuff. One of the worst times ever in history was this Belgian colonization.
Is Belgium still a country?
It is. Belgium's still a country. But at one point they owned a huge, most of Africa. Anyway,
wow.
And King Leopold II was a really bad guy. Anyway, King was out. That's it. That's all my stuff from Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay.
That's right.
Before you go on to a King Leopold II rant.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say about Frank Lloyd Wright?
I think that's most of my
okay.
Frank Lloyd Wright things. Oh, you know what? Here's a quick skyscraper note. He built 2 skyscrapers. One in Oklahoma, the Price Tower in Bartsville. And then he built one skyscraper for an oil company in, I think, not Oklahoma, because the other one was in Oklahoma. And I'm just going to say quickly, These are not the best. Not his best works. Stick to 2-story houses, Frankie.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you seen
That's
them?
fair. No, where are they at? I think later they're in Oklahoma.
One is the Price Tower. I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I mean it's I've seen worse buildings.
I don't know. It seems like he didn't know what a skyscraper was supposed to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. The inside's
Um,
kind of cool though. I think this is like I think
The
I saw
inside
somebody
is
doing-
great because they kept it like
Yeah, I
the
think somebody
inside
did like an
style
Airbnb
is
or
really-
something. I saw a video of this a while ago.
yeah, but I don't like the outside.
That's
I don't
fine.
know. Like I'm a guy. I live in a building now. Okay, I have to take an elevator to get to where I live.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, you don't because you live on the ground floor.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. All right, nice. All right. Well, thank you, Steed.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up there. New episodes every Thursday. Or no, it's once a week. A new
I
episode
don't know.
once a week.
Yeah, an episode's gonna come out when it
It would
comes
come
out.
out. It comes
So
out when it
suck
comes
it.
out. So if you have ideas you want us to do, email show chubstep.podcast@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, share with a friend, rate us on subscribe to us on YouTube. Nobody watches us on YouTube. But we're gonna keep
No,
posting on
our
there.
views are growing. They're growing.
Gee, we get
And they're
like-
about to grow even more once I drop the 15
Okay.
things that I've got.
Okay.
in
We
the
get like
docket.
8. We get like 8 views on our YouTube.
I
things,
know
and-
the last one, the Pope one, had 11, or the marriage
Yeah.
one had 11.
I'm just saying, almost
One of them was up.
comparative to the audio version. Nobody listens to the
Okay, yeah, but
watches the
some
video.
people, yeah, and only people go on YouTube just to fucking write mean comments about me.
Okay, go on, write some more mean comments about us on YouTube, Chubstep Podcast.
No,
Anyway, if you have ideas or somebody who wants to come on, you got a good idea, you want to come on as a guest, your specialty, we'll take it. Chubsteppodcast@gmail.com. All right.
yeah, don't be shy.
Don't be shy. The show has ended. Be gone.
Now you know you got to go.
Peace. This is Yasin.